Jamie. Sorry about that.
No worries. And God,
I guess we're now a statistic. Like I had heard about it, but
yeah, I had to. So,
well, and it's funny because we're trying to figure out like how do we make this easy for folks to join, but you can't even just post a link nowadays. It's just like totally upended.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think there was another gentleman, Roger, who was on. We'll see if he jumps back in too. But
Yep.
Jamie, you were talking about industry data missing and just saying like
non-existent is really, it's just kind of where's the best. I mean, there's tons of places, and it's being able to take the 7,000 clients and knowing they're in refrigeration or durable goods or something, and then getting down, I guess, into the sub SIC codes, or what they call NAICS codes or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that, I mean, it doesn't exist in any of our billing systems, which is, I'm not surprised, but
right.
and it's just kind of where's a good standing. I mean, my question is very basic, probably from where you guys were going with go to market, because where I came from was we did a lot of go to market on industry segmentation.
Yeah. Well, and I imagine too, like one of the problems with those SIC codes and everything is just that transportation is a huge bucket. And you're saying within transportation, I need to break it down and figure out like who's actually shipping toilet paper versus, selling something that's not moving. So,
right.
Yeah, I think in that sense, Tyler, it might be kind of interesting. I know we've worked a lot with just trying to make that data more actionable.
No easy answer. I think Jamie, I
know that. Right.
I think what you're getting at is like, where do I, one, you really should focus on trying to get NAICS codes, which is that NAICS, or SIC codes, particularly if you can get the 8-digit ones. Those are kind of up and coming, but that way you can then create your own industry taxonomy from that. And you're like, okay, well, we don't care about agriculture, so we're just going to roll that up at a very high level, but then we really care about transportation industry, so we want to get really granular into those industries, and so we're going to break those out. And you could do that using NAICS codes. The next piece to this is really just, where do I get those from? And the answer, the right answer is, it depends on the industry that you're in and the type of information you're looking for. So there's a ton of different third-party data providers out there that can give you that information, and some are really great at providing SaaS related stuff, and some are really great at providing manufacturing. The biggest one that we see amongst all of our customers is D&B, or Dun Bradstreet, / Hoovers, whatever. And then the next biggest one that also provides NAICS and SIC codes is ZoomInfo. I don't know how strong ZoomInfo would be.
We have it. It's I mean, you have to spend a lot of money. I mean, I just implemented Zoom, by the way, ZoomInfo.
Okay.
SalesLoft and ZoomInfo, and so I've spent a lot of time there, but they're pretty. I mean, they don't want you crawl. If I download all the data, it'll probably cost $1 gazillion, and that's a place for me to bounce it off of. But no, so we're just transportation, and within agriculture, I'd like to know who the truckers are that support agriculture, kind of thing, right? And so it's very, very specific. And we're trying to transform from transportation technology company to a SaaS subscription company. That's where, that's where where we're going with this, and get out of, we do ELD, electronic logging devices, and some of the hardware and cool stuff like that, which is good, but it doesn't have the margins that the subscription has.
Jamie, I don't think it's a unique problem. We've actually had some conversations with Convoy here in Seattle, and as they're trying to balance their territories and distribute that, they're looking at like volume of shipping, but it's now always an indicator of like what size that original company is. And so as they think about like what's an enterprise account versus a mid-market, shipping data is completely misleading. So I think you've got this nuanced industry where some of that information is really, really hard to get down.
And I'm cool with inventing it, because we did the SMB market. We look at, just our definition is anybody with 75 trucks and below.
Yeah.
And how good is that? And then so the segmentation, there's a ton of opportunity, and I'm cool because what I found also in ZoomInfo is that they really don't support our industry, there's a lot of missing information out there. It's better than anything out there,
Mhm.
granted, but that alone, we've got this thing called Fleet Seek where we can find, and then using LinkedIn, that's about how we do it. But no, but I think D&B is probably my best bet to go that route. And I'd like to, hey, start with the church, which would be the industry, and then get it down to the pew, getting lower to SIC codes and any ICS codes.
Yep.
And I think out of the box, not many data providers really work well as far as like set for your type of industries and taxonomy you want to do. Like one of the things we try to do in Fullcast is actually allow companies to customize that. So then you're actually saying like, okay, do we categorize Amazon as a retailer or a technology company? Like, how do we sell into them?
Yeah.
Now you're creating your own custom industries. And again, like I could just see you guys breaking apart transportation because that's so broad. Like, and now you're trying to decide like within transportation, I want to actually look at different shippers and like what their cargo is, trying to figure out who's going to be less impacted. So I think it's a pretty common struggle. And to your point, I think transportation is a lot harder to get that information than if you're trying to find info on like tech SaaS companies, right? That's what all the support. So we've heard that from a lot of companies. It's like, if you're not a tech SaaS company, finding things for specific to your industry, it becomes pretty.
And then we've got shippers and we've got brokers, right? And so and so that's kind of another dynamic within it. But that's good. I'm glad I'm talking to you guys because I've been kind of struggling with this since I've been trying to figure out as COVID's been happening, how do I get into to find out where's the headlights of what's going to happen with customers that are buying today that could churn tomorrow. Yep. Okay, thanks.
Absolutely. And Tyler, kind of I guess came up in this chat we were just having with Jamie, but like I feel like another struggle is just folks are dealing with multiple data providers, and so they're trying to figure out like what's the source of truth, and then how do we like point that back to like account hierarchies to create balanced territories. How have we helped kind of think through that before? I know this kind of would potentially come back to a data policy, but I feel like a lot of times companies do have multiple data providers, and then they're trying to figure out like, now how do I want to tie that to which hierarchies, and how is that relevant for my team?
Oh, this is the age-old question. So a lot of customers, to your point, especially as you start to go global, you'll have to use multiple data providers. And even like somebody that's looking at just a mare might have multiple providers because they're either trying to get different information they're trying to get specific information from different providers for each account. And what I mean by that is like, well, D&B, we don't trust the industry information. This is hypothetical, but like D&B, we don't trust the industry information, but we trust employee information. ZoomInfo, we really trust the address, and HD data, we really trust the tech stack information that we get, right? And then they're trying to pull all that in, and it really comes back to what you alluded to, which is setting this policy. And I call it a source of truth policy. I think I made that up. So you can call it whatever you want, but it's really about setting in line, like our number one source of truth for this specific type of data on an account is D&B. And then after, if D&B doesn't provide it, then it's ZoomInfo. And so you've got to set that up first. So that you have that documented, everybody knows about it, the reps know about it. And then on top of that, it's about implementing that. And so all of these data providers, if you have them connected into the CRM, they can write to certain fields. And so you'll want to set it up in such a way that D&B would write first to the field. If the field remains blank after D&B writes to it, then ZoomInfo would fill that in, and so on and so forth. Additionally, if you're ever doing any cleaning, it's the same process, right? Like you're manually cleaning the accounts, and so you'll want to go in and go, okay, let's look through D&B first, then ZoomInfo, and so on and so forth. As that ties to hierarchy, and particularly you're going to see this across regions, not just a mayor, because a mayor you'll probably standardize on one data set. But as you go to Japan or EMEA and so on and so forth, you've now are trying to pull data in from different providers so that you can accurately build your corporate family. Um, some customers opted to use D&B, which D&B has a bunch of partners across the world that also use the DUNS number, and so then you can build hierarchies using that DUNS information, and you don't have to worry about that. And then alternatively, there's other providers that use there's other customers that use different providers with different hierarchy information, and we kind of just handle that by building out certain keys and stuff in our software that we have that will point to one data source for that. If that's blank, then we can look at the next data source and try and build it up that way.
Yep, it makes sense. Jamie, I'm kind of just curious from your perspective. We've heard a lot of our customers obviously like revisiting the plan, going back and trying to, adjust numbers. I'm kind of curious what's been the biggest impact for you. I mean, you mentioned kind of the missing industries as you're thinking about being hyper-focused, but like kind of curious now that the world's changed, what's been kind of your charter and some of the challenges you faced?
So, believe it or not, we're having, I think, the 7th best month we've had since 2017.
That's great to hear.
I mean, and so again, we've got some large customers, and there've been, that finally some of those big deals are popping.
Yeah.
But we are PE backed, and that's one of those things that we're probably going to have to look at. But right now we're all remote, business as usual. Guys, I mean, transactions are, it depends on what you're shipping.
Yep.
But I mean, we've been now, I guess it's been a month, and I also do opportunity identification, with our SDRs and all that.
Yep.
And we had, probably one of the greatest months of opportunity identification. So, that could be, I got to be careful when I say that, knock on wood, but we've got a chance, 7th best month, and here we are, we still have 5-6 business days left.
Yep.
So, and some of our competitors are laying people off. I mean, we're hearing that, and we've got an opportunity to do some, up tier our skill. And that's something that is really a big deal for us because we're trying to get out of people. It's that unique person that maybe has some transportation, but are really, know how to sell SaaS software. And believe it or not, our new VP of sales has been here 3 weeks today, came from SAP. He doesn't know nothing about transportation, just like me. Right. But I would rather be a guy that kind of knows technology and then can learn a transportation. Anyway, to answer your question, I think I'm cautiously optimistic, and we can turn the corner on this thing. We can really differentiate ourselves from our competitors with being able to help people.
Absolutely. Well, it's good to, first of all, great to hear that, just because it's always reassuring to hear positive stories about the world out there today. But people are still shipping a lot of things, and that industry's,
Absolutely.
going. So your SDRs, are they booking the right kinds of meetings? Have you thought about any type of account scoring, and do you feel like you're pretty honed in with who you're chasing, your message, and all that?
No. So I got to tell you, so we just implemented the model in January. They never even heard of an SDR when I came in August. So there was a lot of teaching and all that, and so and then some of them were were account executives where they did everything. They prospect and sold. And so getting those guys to kind of turn the corner into prospecting has been kind of difficult.
Yeah.
Because, and that's what one of the first things I saw when I came in, there was no pipeline. There was no, there were no, and so we had anyway, so to answer your questions, no, we're getting better at it, and we've implemented SalesLoft, as I mentioned, and ZoomInfo. The KPIs are, right on target with, very traditional SDR kinds of, KPIs that you would expect, with their compensations tied to it. They're aligned with a RAM, which is a regional account manager who's inside sales that does everything over the phone. And then we have an RSM who's kind of the quarterback for the region.
Okay.
And so that's the model, basically those 3 guys. And so So the RE still wants to kind of hang and do too many demos and things, and
Mhm.
which I'm good with, as long as you're making KPIs and getting us the OI that we need,
Yeah.
kind of thing. I don't know if I answered your question, but that's
No, that's
the
helpful.
model. Yeah.
And are you guys segmented kind of geo today loosely,
Yeah.
or?
Yeah, all geo. So we're broken out 8 regions. We've got national account territory, which used to be 2, and then we have this a broker territory. We're only selling into brokers. So if
Okay.
it's in your geography, see, before we had this firewall between 75 trucks and below and above and all that, and so we had the food fight between SMB and anyway, we killed that. And so if it's, and obviously we don't want to sell. Our sweet spot's not selling to 2 trucks.
Yeah.
But we do. I'm really holding our RAMs accountable for getting into that SMB segmentation, making sure that we're not going. Everybody's holding the baton and trying to get the big sexy deal.
Yeah.
So anyway, we still with this too early. I mean, we're in the first trimester of this thing, and I'm optimistic, but we still got a ways to go. But to answer your original question, meetings, well, ideally it would be to set up face-to-face meetings for the RSM.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Would be to do that. Right now it's kind of, we are tracking customer meetings and demos and all that kind of stuff. And demos aren't going as high a volume as I want, but
Yep.
or any of us want. But
Well, that's where I feel like even sales loft and those things can help, right? Because you're starting to get insights and figuring out like, okay, if we do this sequence, we're going to get X number of meetings, and just kind of repeating that playbook. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Jamie, are you, as people are going out and hunting, are you dealing with any duplicate accounts? I feel like that just is persistent.
I got to tell you, our Salesforce is a dumpster fire. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
Because what was happening is we would we'd have people it was such high turnover that out of the 50,000 records we had in our database, 30,000 were orphans.
Okay.
Meaning, and so nobody's calling. So if you're an account exec and you covered, the Midwest and you disappeared, well, they never really backfilled, so nobody ever really picked up. And so so the data is really old. So tons of work with another colleague, our administrator, done a lot of cleanup. And so I've got it down to, every state, all that. But within that, our contacts aren't very good. And that's where I spend a lot of time on ZoomInfo and FleetSeek and any place else that I can get better. Because everybody, we're not getting any inbound leads. Well, hey, it's a chicken or the egg, right? You look at some of these accounts that were last updated in 2014, guys probably gone, or they're out of business, or who knows, right?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Well,
we do have duplicates, so to answer your question, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, obviously there's, Salesforce has a dedupe engine, but I feel like it kind of runs out of runway, or our customers have bumped to that. Tyler, I'm kind of curious, like what you've seen, like thinking of like what Salesforce does natively, and kind of what some of the gaps might be as far as like, dealing with dupes.
Oh, dupes. So one of the hard things about dupes is coming into an instance that really it hasn't been maintained around duplicates, and so you've got to do this mass cleanup. And the mass cleanup actually takes quite a bit of time if you want to be careful about not getting rid of records that you care about. So we typically will like set up a methodology where we'll like progressively get more open or include more records to dedupe. And that will actually leverage a third-party tool, because the limitations within Salesforce they're great for as data comes in. So if you have it set up a duplicate policy and you have it set up the dedupe rules in Salesforce, then as data comes in, it'll just get created and it exists. But once you've set that up in Salesforce, that new data coming in, Salesforce will catch and will match those things as like duplicate, as potential duplicates, and you can review those and merge them. The mass cleanup side of things, you really need to go in and use some tool that can do a big mass cleanup. One of the things that like Salesforce falls short on as well is you've got to manually merge all those accounts that Salesforce does catch, so it's not actually automating that for you. So I mean, that's like some of the things that you've got to look out for in terms of just like setting an actual duplicate policy. It's really about identifying, how your accounts are laid out, and the information that signals that this is a duplicate account. So I think, if I was to strip apart all of that, it comes back down to identifying what is an account to you in your org. As some people, that is a physical location. Some people, that is a legal entity. In the case of one of our CPG customers, it is a grocery store that's been vetted, or it is a district, I don't remember, it's like a district headquarters, right? And those are things that each individual customer has defined as duplicates, and or specific accounts that can exist within the system. Once you have that defined, then you can come back to the policy around, well, if it is just one single location that we care about, then we can just say anything with the same domain, same URL or website, we can merge those. If it is a physical location we care about, then we can say any account that has the same address or the same zip code and the same name, we can merge those. And so it helps you by defining what an account should be. It will help you define what duplicates look like in your system. And then you can come in and then set up the rules in Salesforce or do your mass cleanup.
Yeah.
It's the golden record, right? And so we do have duplication. It is getting better. I mean, every day. What we're doing, we're implementing NetSuite as our, it's going to be our ERP tool that will end up between our billing system and Salesforce. That we will have that linkage that lead, from cradle to grave and back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's my optimism, is that we're cleaning up. I mean, we're going to do it as best we can now. But come July, I think we'll be able to declare, and we'll have that billing record that will match the the Salesforce. I mean, with spellings and and these are truck driver fat finger guys that are out of that industry, right, that the spelling in their first the things that they bring to the table. So
yeah.
But if we can get that unique linkage, and they're doing a really good job working with matter of fact, in 20 minutes I'll talk to the guys again about it. But it's getting that back and forth, and then being able to, again, get that industry data within there, so we sync that up. I think that's going to clean up a lot of. We have 7,000 customers and 50,000 Salesforce records, and God knows how many, in Pardot, right? And matter of fact, one of the things I'm doing right now, if you talk about duplication, we have a promo that we're trying to do a 90% off, 90% off for 90 days kind of a thing with our mobile subscription. And we've decided that we didn't want to send that to any of our customers. So now I'm going in, out of 177,000 contacts in our prospect database, which one of those are not customers.
Right.
So it's proving the negative. And so I'm winning. It's, war of attrition, but I think it's going to be very powerful to get that list of clients that don't know us, never done business with us. We're it's probably not fair to go to a client that we've already doing business and say, hey, here's 90%. Plus, I think we have some opportunities in flight that we don't want to use that kind of thing. So
right.
Anyway, so that's just I'm 2 days into it, and this is a good break.
Well, Jamie, as I hear you think of, you're talking about those buckets of like those 40K accounts that had been covered but aren't anymore.
Yep. One
of the challenges I see is like, you get a brand new SDR organization, you're like, go work this list, go work this list.
Yep.
Like,
yep.
It's cold.
Yep.
But as you know, it gets stale so fast. And one thing that we've been doing internally, just our sales team, is this concept of like key contacts. So making sure each count has key contacts, labeling them as a decision maker, influencer, et cetera.
Yep.
And actually being able to look back and say, like, what's been the activity with those contacts on the account is just a rough account score, right? Because I think it's that problem where it's like, brand new SDR, go work this list, go work this list. And it turns out they're just super stale and not very actionable.
See, we're layering in good contacts on top of bad contacts.
Mm.
You know, and so which is, I think, pretty self-evident when you go in, you go, okay, there's the last update on that guy. We're doing what we call drip campaigns where, you know, so we get the, you know, you've been talking to the director of safety, and those guys typically are, you know, guys that can bring people in, but they're not the guys making the decision.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to get into that layer deeper, but the high turnover in that. And so, so we still know just a ton of work. And so back to what Tyler was talking about earlier, like I guess master data management tool that would be something to look at. I don't think I want to do that at this point. I'd like to see what I can do with Netscape and all that, just to see if that's any better. Do what we're doing, but wait for that. And then maybe it, you know, might be a decision to make to, you know, get some help there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just trying to think, Tyler, anything else to kind of add on this, or any other thoughts on just kind of data governance issues you've seen?
I think it's really, it starts, you know, if I was to summarize everything up, it would just be that I would start with the beginning, which is how are accounts or even contacts, right? How are they getting created? And putting policies, and which are just rules in place to make sure that you're getting the data you need into the system. So when it is created, we have data that exists in that record, so that I can then later set other like layer policy on top of policy, right? Like layer a like a duplicate policy on top of that. So handling that, but like if the data's not even in the record, then you can't figure out duplicates, you can't identify which industries are doing well, you can't put accounts into territories. There's like a whole host of other issues that you can't address unless you address getting the right information into the record and in the right format. And then the step below that is, of course, how's it even getting created in the first place?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think that those are great points, that because I think about, you know, what's really important, and are we getting everything in? And the answer is no. I mean, DOT numbers a big deal, number of trucks, who's your telematics, you know, your ELD provider. Those would be the basic things that you would want, and we can make it mandatory. You know, even simple things as we just use the abbreviation for the state, like you know, GA or FL. They type in Florida, they type in God knows what else, and
right.
I mean, anyway. But I think that the point is that I want to get back, and I think we're a manageable number of being able to get back to Tyler's point of getting this thing right without having to start all over, and then really leaning in with making sure that every one of those things have to be in there, and it has to talk back and forth between, you know, the billing system and our Salesforce, and within Pardot and all that. That's the linkage, and that's my hope is what's going to happen for us.
Well, and you know this full well. Like, it's just interesting how many roles I've seen posted that say sales ops and enablement, and I think now like the default is like you're enabling the team, right? You're trying to drive these roles. But I feel like where we've seen success with our customers, it's letting the reps in on like, hey, if you capture this data, like my promise to you is I will help you like sort and chase the right accounts. So it's kind of like that trade-off of like, I get that there's like 2 extra steps to put this information in, but next quarter, we're going to be able to run reports, figure out like where you should be spending your time. So you reps kind of have that back and forth, but it's just interesting how many ops teams we deal with now are also overseeing enablement and kind of thinking through all those things. But anytime I hear of like a data policy from a sales rep, of course they're digging their heels in saying like, I don't want to add more info, but kind of letting them in on like, this is the bigger picture. This is why I'm capturing this data, and hopefully it'll just help you guys spend time in the right area. I just think about that anytime I hear of like driving a data governance policy is like, let the sales team in on like the end goal.
So just to share something with you, when I took over this role, I've been talking to Dharmesh, and if you look at my title, Senior Director of Growth Operations. It could have been revenue ops. It could have been, I said, no, I want growth ops. I like that. And so yes, and that means helping grow. So guess what? I will have part of one of the things I need to do is sales enablement. Our onboarding process sucks. And if we're really going to grow or get into new businesses, do that. But It's all part of the growth. And so whatever it takes to make it grow.
Yep. I think that makes a lot of sense. Well, Jamie, this is our first session we've done, and we're hoping to kind of just keep these topics going. It's interesting because we have a lot of these conversations with our customers. We talk to other folks in our network, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, we were just talking about the same thing." So our thought was like, let's do these Q&A, fireside chats. Is there anything else like topic-wise that would be of interest to you?
Let me think. Commissions and quota and things like that you guys are doing, that's something that is broken horribly here. The good news is, there's 36 reps or something, but it's all done by, and fortunately with the SDRs, I simplified that. Yeah. So eight out of that we got, but the rest of it is just I guarantee we're going to have regrettable attrition if we continue down the path that we're on with that. So those are some of the things. It's like what best practices on quota setting and primarily the commission. I guess the payout and timings. We're real super strict here. It has to bill before we pay. And we've got some long implementations on some of these deals we'll sell something and it could be 6 months, and our sales guys, don't have and they end up feeling like they're selling it again because it turns into this implementation disaster. And anyway, and that's something that our new VP, and it's something I've been very passionate about, that I think we come from basically the same. He's from SAP and kind of gets, he was with, 14 directors and all that stuff and big, but he likes the idea of 180 person company being able to make decisions. And so those are so we need to simplify those things. So those are some of it. Some of it maybe some sales enablement. If there's some, you guys are touching any, maybe some of the systematic things that you're seeing. I know that go to market with Topo and those guys that, the work that they do, and, playbooks. What are your best practice on sales playbooks that which we don't have? We'd love to have a framework that starts, and then it kind of what's in there. Everything from go to market to how we internally interact with each other. All those kinds of things.
Absolutely, those are great. I just was taking notes. We've definitely been hearing a lot about quotas and commissions, and obviously a lot of teams are kind of revisiting those now, so pretty relevant. I guess if anything else pops in mind, please shoot me an email, and just we'd love any kind of feedback on this session and anything else. So if questions come up and anything else pops in mind, shoot us a note, and we'll just kind of keep inviting you to sessions. And I think if it's a topic relevant to you and your business, we'd love to have you join.
I think all of it. No, I love this stuff. I love being connected, because just what's everybody else doing, and and then you start looking at yourself. See, I did integrate. We acquired a lot of companies in IBM. I worked on 30 integrations into IBM, and so I was able to. And my job was integrating sales management in. So it was really cool to be able to say, "Hey, here's what we're doing is pretty good. Here's some really good stuff." So that's why when my excitement about, dealing with different size companies and all that. And so, and one size doesn't fit all. IBM really didn't have a SaaS, commission model. It's really a curation of, best practices that we brought, clients we acquired or targets we acquired. Yeah. So, anyway, so that's why I think this is continuous. I think this community can do a lot if we, and keep the communication going. So
absolutely. Yeah. Well, and just on that note, if you think of anyone else in your network that would find these of interest, I'll send you the invite for next week. We're still locking in the topic, but I'll send you, and if there's other folks you can forward it to, please do so. And appreciate you carving out time to join today.
No, I will. No, I will do that. I appreciate it. No, thanks for doing this, and look forward to participating again.
Yeah, and awesome news to hear your team is staying real busy. It's just refreshing to hear today.
When you look at trucking is down, the volume's down, all indications are headwinds, but we've elected not to participate. So
that's awesome.
There you go.
Yeah, I like it.
All right, guys. All right,
Thanks, Jamie.
stay safe. See you guys.
Yep,
All right,
thank
thanks.
you.
See you, Dharmesh. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.